Welcome to the Incredible Machines podcast, where we sit down with incredible people doing incredible things. In this episode, we sit down with Burgette Yarlett, a master NLP practitioner, life coach, and public speaker. We speak about how mindset is your superpower, how we co-create our own reality, and how resilience stems from adversity. Join us as we unpack these insights and more. So without further ado, we bring you the incredible Burgette Yarlett. If you could go back to when you were 16, yes, what would you tell yourself?
I would say to myself that your mindset is your superpower, not your looks.
Okay.
And that the biggest muscle you have is this powerful mind, and start training it now. Because I would have saved myself a world of trouble if I had known then what I know now.
Okay.
But I don't have regrets. I don't regret anything. It's all shaped and formed, who I am. So I don't take it back. But wow, if I just had known how powerful our thoughts, for instance, are.
Yeah.
And how the words we use just shape our reality. Every second of the day, we are literally, we co-creators of our reality, right?
100%.
And I say co-creators because, it's the God in us, and we're co-creating with our God. And for me, it's been such a powerful and valuable lesson and learning. Sometimes we'll sit back and go, oh, you take care of it,
Yeah.
But we've got to actually participate in our own rescue. And that was something that was powerful and empowering for me when I realized, okay, I've got to get up off the couch. I've got to start telling my mind what I want it to do. I've got to direct it with my language, the words I use, the thoughts I think. And it was really exciting because I never used to believe that you could literally rewire your brain and recondition your body to create this better experience, this more positive, brighter future. I didn't think that was a reality. I didn't think it was a possibility. And when I found out that it was, that was my light bulb moment. Just, the pennies dropped. Everything came into alignment. And I think that's what for me is that coherence, that mind and heart, just like, it all just came into alignment. And that's when my whole world opened up.
And I think that's potentially with NLP, you've experienced that quite, and we'll get stuck into that.
Absolutely.
I think we'll get into that. I was having a conversation yesterday, and we talked about the old way of doing, remembering the old way and the way our parents brought us up, and it was a suck it up and get on with it, and and I always use this example of my dad. He was a typical male unit where his leg would be falling off, and my mom would be telling him to go to the doctor, and he would say, no, it's just a flesh wound, it'll grow back or whatever it is. But whereas now, and maybe we over-index a little bit, or we have over-indexed on the softer side, and then we pull back all the time.
True.
But back then, for me at least, it was definitely okay, suck it up and go, and that men were rough, tough, and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
How was
Cowboys don't cry.
I mean, in your lifeline, you were born. Where were you born? Where did it start? There in Durban for you, or?
No, I was actually born in Evander. Do you even know where that is?
I don't know where that is.
Neither do I. No, I'm joking. Evander, it's somewhere in Johannesburg.
Very cryptic.
Yeah, very cryptic. No, I was born in Evander, and my parents were exceptionally young when they fell in love. So they had me when they were super young. They still love each other dearly to this day. We have a beautiful relationship all together, but they parted when I was around 3 years old. So we then came back to Durban, and I've pretty much moved, John. I went to 8 different schools. That was fun.
Okay.
But again, all shaped my confidence, my self-esteem, because you had this need to sort of fit in. Because my stepdad, who I also just loved dearly, he was in road construction at the time, Savage and Lovemore. And so wherever the job went, we went. And I was often, sort of taken out and put into new schools, not always at the start of a year, oftentimes halfway through, into the third term, whenever it was. But we just flowed. And with the right mindset, and I really honor my mom always for just instilling that. Like she would just turn everything into an adventure and a challenge. I get choked and excited. Now that I'm a mom, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Hold on.
No, that's good. That's good. I got choked up yesterday and just remembering and talking about your. My business coach at one stage, I remember relaying a relationship to her that had disintegrated and we had separated. And she said, "Oh, but you guys were such a good couple and you're so good together."
Yeah.
And
yeah.
And I said, yeah. She said, "Oh, that's sad." And I said, "Yeah, it's sad when you think about it, but only when you think about it."
Isn't that true? The power of thoughts.
Yeah, exactly what you were talking about
exactly.
there. And often when I think about my folks, I get emotional, especially my dad has passed. But
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so it sounds
I think it's just because there's so much emotion, hey, and just so much love and appreciation. And I just feel like that's become like my signature is just of gratitude. It's just always, I'm just so overflowed with just, I feel those overflowing emotions of immense appreciation.
Yeah.
Just for everything and how, who I've become and where I'm at. And everything now you realize at the time you think things are falling apart and you look back and you say, wow, they were falling perfectly into place.
Yeah.
All with purpose, all with intention. And it's all just led me to where I am today and who I am today. So, but to get back to the question, so, going through all of the different schools at all the different ages and stages, it taught me a lot. And it taught me about resilience and it taught me about strength and it taught me how to be likable. But I can honestly reflect back now and say that I realized later on in life that I did become a bit of a people pleaser, a little bit of a shapeshifter. Who do I need to be in order to fit in? Right? And so wearing the masks, which hat do I need to put on? I really became quite an expert. And whilst there's a lot of strengths that one can take from that, there is also the I won't say weaknesses, but, the downside when you realize, hang on a second, one day you've actually become so disconnected from who it is that you truly are that it allows for that deeper introspection. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Where you just kind of look at yourself. And that happened to me after my car accident, which I know we're going to get to. But it allowed me to really just pause and just take stock of, am I being my true, authentic self? Or has who I've been that served me well, but it was built out of need and a must and a should be and a have to be and and to be able to be in this space and place now where I get to just breathe, appreciate, let my energy just rise from within, take all that I've learned, yes, even the hardest of lessons and learnings, but I just use it every day to craft and to build, a future that I'm proud of. A present moment, a present that I'm proud of, but just that it's all just linked into how we are co-creators of our reality. Because it's so easy for us to say, when things go right, all the good things happen, we go, yep, that was me, and we're very proud of ourselves. And when things go wrong, it was because of that thing or that person or that situation, very quick to point fingers. And what I really appreciate and value about neuro-linguistic programming, the principles, and I think a lot of them you'll see come through today, but one of them is, just that blaming. It's actually not, blaming will always keep you stuck and disempowered. And so it is about ownership and accountability. Yes, the good stuff, especially the not so good stuff, but just recognizing, taking the lessons of what we can learn. And how can I use that as, a valuable resource for my future? And it was only when I discovered NLP that I was able to apply, because I learned these tools and I learned these techniques of how do you really process negative emotion? How do you really get in there and, without having to relive it and nobody wants to go through their past traumatic experiences. I mean, I certainly don't. And it gets so stuck in there that you're up to your neck in the emotions because I know now what I know, and the unconscious mind does not know the difference between what's reality, and vivid imagination. And that's why when we think something, The body feels as if it's now, just like how, my eyes welled up, with that appreciation when thinking back, because your body believes that it's there again,
Yeah.
You can
feel it. Yeah, you can feel it happen again almost.
Absolutely.
That just runs. I mean, that's the example we have in one of the original episodes about the Incredible Machine, that thing playing in the background, that the database logs that get played, and then you see them and actually feel them. And there's something that you said there just before we go back to the schooling.
Sure.
Like this exercise, people have said has been very therapeutic for them. And I listened to a clip that kind of explained a bit of why that could be the case. And it's just an exercise, and I urge the viewers and the listeners to try to do this lifeline exercise, or some sort of journaling of your life, and putting into different epochs or stages, and working it out. And one of the reasons why there's a relief of it is because once you write stuff down and you remember and you create order of things sometimes that you didn't understand at the time. And anything that you don't understand is logged, and it's logged in anxiety, because that spectrum of anxiety, and you hold that, as I understand it, and that makes you more anxious. And then you come into the world, and because you haven't computed that, you don't understand why, then it could always be a problem. So you're in the woods and you don't know where that problem, that bear, whatever you want to call it, is, and you don't understand it. So the more you process it, so you're going to explain the science in this, but before we get back to that, I guess so we'll get into pageantry and that's what I think is maybe from art like Malcolm Gladwell, the experience of introducing yourself 8 times at least into a new class. It probably made you better than most people. It was 7 times more than most people introduce themselves. And when you go up on stage and introduce yourself as a pageant, you already had that. So maybe there's something there. But do you want to carry on from there, where you had this? Where did you spend most of your high schooling?
Is it okay if I just close this one little loop in my mind?
Please do.
I won't go deep into it now, but I just wanted to say that when I was talking about being up to your neck and those emotions, how important it is to be able to go and just to revisit gently. And that's how we do it in NLP, which is very cathartic. I only take my clients up to their ankles, so that you can get out of the emotion easily. But what's important about that step is that we're able then to process for release. And that's what's important. Okay. Awesome. So that negative emotion that you speak about does not stay stuck and stored in the cells in our body, creating that disorder and dis-ease. And then some people can really end up with disorders and diseases because you just got all this toxic emotion, stored, and you think you've dealt with it, but we often just put a plaster on it, And as you said, soldier on, big old panties on, cowboys don't cry. You just got to keep on keeping on, right? So, but we'll dive into that.
I think we need to. Have you read The Body Keeps a Score?
I have not.
Have you, Luke? No. I think it. From what I've listened to a bit of summary, I think it is something. I don't know. We'll check it out. Maybe we'll put it in the show notes. But I think it's that exactly. So if you're able to release it, then it's not with you anymore.
Yes, the mind-body connection. Absolutely. Yeah. So true.
I'll need to investigate it. But yes, sorry. Go for it.
All right, sorry. So timeline, is that where we were?
So back at school.
Back at school.
8 different schools, you had said, and moving around a lot.
Yeah. And in the end, I ended up I was only at schools for about a year and a half usually, and then I would be on to the next school. But in the end, I was at Northlands Girls High for standard 8, 9, and 10. So, and still managed to become a prefect. So you see when I say, putting on the masks and who do I need to be in order to achieve what I want to achieve? I was captain of the gymnastics team. I was the chair lady of the service club. But that speaks to what's always been in my heart. It's one of our core human needs is contribution. And so giving beyond ourselves, that's important to me. It's an important value. Right. So next, I suppose, life was pretty good. I had a pretty good upbringing. I was a happy child and a happy teen, always pushing the boundaries, of course, as all what kid doesn't, right? And then I got into pageantry, yes. Quite by chance, John. It was never something that I was, pursuing, ever. And the one day I was actually in Umhlanga, and there was the Umhlanga festival that was happening. And I had bumped into one of my friends. I was there with my mom and my aunt. And I'll tell you why that's important in a minute. And I bumped into one of my friends, and she was, her hair was all beautifully done and her makeup, and she was looking, spectacular. And I said, wow, Sarah, what you doing? Yeah. And she's like, well, I'm doing the Miss Umhlanga. Cool. And she says, you're going to do it with me. And I laughed and I laughed and I laughed. And I said, that is not happening, And she's like, no, come on, Biggs, give it a try, da-da-da. And my mom, all encouraging, all supporting, and my aunt too, birds of a feather, right? And so the two of them were like, what have you got to lose? Give it a go. Next thing I knew, I had makeup being put on my face and my, hair getting done. And I thought, well, okay, here we go. Like you said, I'd had a few practices of introducing myself. So get up on stage, walk around and answer some questions. And turns out that I actually ended up coming second, and I was blown away by what I won. Growing up, it was just my mom and I for a while in the beginning, and we didn't, I didn't come from money. Mom, again, like I said, she would, say, tonight we're having a picnic on the lounge floor. And I didn't know it was because we were down to our last few pieces of bread and, cheese or whatever it was. So she turned everything into an occasion and a happy event. So to stand there and then receive money, I've got a holiday for all of us to go, all expenses paid. I had hair care for the year, shoes, you name it. I was just like, what? Are you telling me that if I stand up here, answer some questions, walk around and with some confidence, show the world who I am, I could get all this free stuff, And so that began my journey. I then competed again. I ended up winning, and I went on to compete. I did I won Miss 5FM, Miss Tropica, Miss Belito, Miss Hibiscus in the South Coast. There was just so many, and ultimately Miss KZN. And after almost, I think I'd done 19 competitions that I'd won. And then that's where it all culminates. I was asked to represent South Africa in Vietnam. And that's where there was the Miss Friendship of the World. And, there were so many of us competing. It was beautiful. Such lovely friendships that were formed there. We were there for 2 weeks. And, it was nonstop, the itinerary. And when we got back, I had done exceptionally well. And with the money, I'd bought myself a little car, like, next day, because, it was there, it was available, it all just lined up. It was my friend's grandmother's car. And anyway, it was that same weekend that I just got back. We went then to Sun City, yes. I couldn't think of the name suddenly. But we went to Sun City for a few days to celebrate. And then I got back, and if I'm not mistaken, it was a Sunday. I think it was a Sunday. Or a Saturday. Anyway, not important. What's important is that I got that phone call to say, let's go out tonight. And I feel like I've said it so many times, and I have, I didn't listen to that inner voice, which I know now is your highest intelligence. It's your intuition, the gut feel, know. And that's when we don't listen. We say, wow, if only I'd listened. And
just to pause you there, that inner voice is so, and I want to emphasize that, like, there's been that very tragic plane crash. We're recording this just after Father's Day in June, guys, and there's been a very tragic plane crash in India, and apparently one of the passengers decided to not get on the plane. He just had a gut feel that something was off. So, I've listened to a presentation before where someone was actually kidnapped, and they said on the day of their kidnapping, something was off, and there'll be something that's not computing. It's something that's out, like they probably saw the van, but you see millions of bits of information or whatever. But there's something in a sense that. So you had that on that day, you felt it, and you ignored it.
Yes, because remember, as I said, people pleasing as well, linked into that. Didn't want to let everybody down, and I was always known as the go-getter. So your unconscious mind that I know now has a need to remain in alignment with the identity that we've given ourselves and the story we tell ourselves. So I said yes. And off we went. And we were really having the time of our lives, and we were having a big celebration, and I was with two very special, beautiful souls. What's linked to it for me, John, is not about what happened to me. It's about the fact that we lost a beautiful soul that night. That 3 of us climbed in the car and only 2 got out alive. So, that was on my timeline, my greatest drop. That was where I hit my all-time low, hit the rock bottom, and as I say, for a number of reasons. And when I reflect back now, it's so important. A life was lost, and mine nearly was. And again, when I think about it, if I can just take you through what happened, I mean, I do recall that I'd had more than enough to drink. Being of the legal age to drink, I was 21. We were all of age. And, we were just high on life, having fun and, celebrating. And then we stumbled off to the car because I recognized that it was time to go. And that little inner voice did say, now it's over, like it is time. And off we went. And I just recall I was going to climb in the front, and I didn't. It doesn't seem fair. Why did I live? But anyway, I climbed into the back, and I passed out. Truth be told, I had enough alcohol in me, and I just passed out. And as it turns out, that's what saved my life. Because you don't resist, and I was lying down. So what happened was that we apparently, because I don't have any recollection, but we veered off the main road and drove into a tree. And I took the impact on my face. So having been lying with my face behind the passenger seat and my feet up behind the driver's seat, with that force, I crushed my jaw, crushed my cheekbones, my eye sockets. My nose it was just straight into my head. And the surgeons did say there was nothing, it was just flat from this crushed cheekbone to that crushed cheekbone. In fact, they likened the face to a squashed amoeba, single cell and just nothingness almost. And my forehead was the only thing that was intact and not broken, the only bones that were still, together. And so I think a lot of people, when they do look at me, will say, well, I don't see all the scars or the lacerations. Like, how? And as explained to me by the surgeons, when you take a Checkers packet, for instance, and you fill it with ice, if the packet was my face and the ice were my cheekbones, and if you were to just sort of smash that against the wall, the packet was okay. It was just everything inside of it that was shattered. So it was here in Westville Hospital where Professor Madari and just an incredible team rallied, and over a series of 3 major reconstructive surgeries. But that night they were able to save my life. And I just, when I did eventually come around, have that small little moment where I just recall being very confused. And I don't know why, and I don't know if it's part of my memory that's made up, because how much of our memory we fill in the gaps. But I feel like I remember just feeling cold, like chilled, and very confused because I couldn't open my eyes, and I really just had no idea what had happened, but I knew it wasn't good. And so, I didn't have my sense of sight, so I relied on my sense of hearing, and I could hear the machines beeping, and what I didn't realize was that it was the life support, system, and I was fighting for my life at that time. And then I was gone again. So that's a little moment that I recall. There's another moment that my mom shared with me. later, and she struggles to talk about it, and my dad. But she said that there was a time where I said, let's get the wording right. There was a time that I said, okay, Mom, I want to go to heaven now, but I want you to come with me. How weird. And she just said, not your time to go. And wow, isn't it weird? So sorry I'm making you all cry. And myself, I really did not foresee this, but it's real. It's real, and wow. I just think the lessons and the learnings and everything that's come from it, that has made me who I am today, and why I have such passion and such a purpose to. And I don't cry when I do all of my coaching, I promise. Yeah. Or when I get called on to go speak, at the schools to the youth, or, at empowering women events, whatever it is. I just have such a message of encouragement. And the fact that our past does not define us, our pain doesn't define us, that at any age and stage, we have the absolute ability to rewire our minds, to process for release the emotions, to create a new, brighter future reality, and to use our past pain for a greater good.
So I'm watching you escape it often. You bring it in and you escape with your NLP and I love it. And but every time you speak about your mom specifically, and she tells you about that instance where you came to and you asked she to go and she said no, but you don't remember that at all.
No.
You remember the beeping. Do you remember the beeping? The cold is. Hospitals can be cold. I know that anesthetic makes you cold sometimes.
Sure.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of things. So there's a bunch of things. But what are there any? When you heard those beeping, you went. Do you remember what you thought? You went like, okay, I'm in hospital, or like you say. I heard you say I was fighting for my life. Did you know that you were fighting those machines? Did you correlate that?
Not so much at the time. I think it's more reflection. At the time, I think I was just utterly confused and scared. I didn't know what was happening.
Okay.
And like I said, I think what I knew with all certainty was that it wasn't good.
Okay.
There was something that had gone horribly wrong.
Okay.
And
how long were you in
ICU?
Yeah, in hospital for
2 weeks, and then and then. After that, as I say, over the next 2 years, they took cartilage from my ribs to build. So this entire nose is made of cartilage from my ribs. They took bone graft. They used more than double the amount of titanium pins that they'd ever used on one face to put mine together. Okay. And they actually reconstructed my face by using my modeling photographs, because they had no idea how to put me back together, So, I mean, thankfully, we had photographs.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I do look quite different to how I used to look. But of course, I'm so grateful, every day. I'm so grateful for my face. But I also am very aware that we are our own worst critics.
Oh, yeah.
And that, and I'll share this with you both vulnerably. When I appeared on another previous podcast, and I had gone and done a little bit of homework. I'd watched, where they were all seated and how they were seated. And I looked at the video and I said, oh, excellent. The good side of my face is where they're going to be coming in from that shot, because this was less mangled than this side. And when I arrived, the setup had changed. And I was like, no. and it literally threw me for the first, a few minutes of the podcast, because I was so consciously aware. And then I used my NLP, and then I sort of overcame myself. And it's so fascinating, because now I'm literally filming my reels, my social content. I'm actually embracing this side. I'm like, I'm sorry I've been so mean to you, this side of my face. And so here I sit today, and here we are. This is the side. So, Thanks for that.
Yeah, we had a discussion. I remember we had a discussion about it, and I think you said it was quite common. I mean, you'd know this, but I think I have a better side too. I haven't. It's actually the other side, guy. But so I'm hiding it from you, those that are watching and not listening. But that's because of the scars and stuff that I would have on my face. That's the only really reason why I have a side. I don't know, Luke. Do you have a preferred side of your face?
I haven't really thought about it.
But you said it is a common.
It is actually, yes. Usually, I mean, when girls get together for a photo, they're like, "Oh, can I be this side? This is my good side." You know,
once you've shot a couple of 100 podcast episodes, you know when people are aiming for the good side. So.
Sure,
okay.
Right.
Just watching the body language and the awkwardness. And it's like, okay,
okay.
But well done for.
So you had to.
Amazing.
Thank you.
You had to jump in and okay. But so I heard you say you did your NLP.
Yes.
Can you just quickly, before we get back into that, what did you do? What was the exercise that you did in that moment? Because it's quick.
In which moment?
Before the podcast to...
Oh, today?
When you had to get on. No, when you had to get on, you said I did NLP. Did my NLP quickly.
Right. A number
and then
of
I faced my...
Absolutely.
And you got on the podcast with Grant, which we'll have the link to that episode in the show notes. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah. So there's a few things. Number one is anchoring. You can anchor a state. And that's simply, nobody can see it. So if I just press and hold my fingers together, I've anchored. I've done a lot of work to anchor the state of step into your true potential and power. Connect with your true authentic self, be at peace and be calm, and just basically that's, embracing your authentic self and being absolutely happy, being absolutely, in fact, elated with that. Not trying to, for me, it's a powerful reminder. No masks, no hats, just you, live in truth.
Okay.
Which is something we'll talk about just now, because that's a digital product that I'm so excited that I'm busy creating.
Cool.
And it's everything all brought into one. And so I anchored my state in that moment, and that usually gets me up and out. I've done it a few times here too, when the tears come.
Okay, interesting.
And also, if you can think greater than you feel in any situation, I can see you thinking about that, and that's good. Think about what you're thinking about, right? Thought catching. But if we can think greater than we feel in any situation, you can overcome that emotion. Okay. So you think yourself out of it. It's similar to how people can think themselves sick or think themselves well with their own powerful thoughts. And the reason that I say that, John, is because it's kind of like the chicken or the egg. Which one came first? Do you think something and feel it first, or do you feel something and think it first? Which one do you think?
Interesting. Sure. No, they're not even, in my mind. It's probably not. They're separate. But one can bring the other, but they definitely. I don't think they're connected in that way. Other than they'll make me if I'm feeling a certain way, I might think. Yeah, you tell me the science then. Okay. Yeah?
So as it turns out, the fact is that we think something first, and then we feel it, because it's, where your focus goes, right? So whatever you're focusing on is what you're thinking about. And if you hold your focus and attention on that, you actually start releasing the chemistry of that thinking into every single cell in your body. And so, your cells have got these little receptor sites waiting to receive the information. Think of it as like your mind it's sending a WhatsApp to the body to say, hey guys, it's time to feel like this. Okay. So whatever you think about, you feel about. You think it releases the chemistry, it injects it into all the cells in your body, and it produces that emotion, because your body is, in fact, designed to produce the behavior that is based on your thinking every single time. Our bodies are designed to do that.
So my view has always been, it's funny, that's very interesting. My view has always been very deterministic. So it's in the way I understand it anyway, and people can correct me, please, on this. But so there's a lot of hormones and there's a lot of chemicals and that sort of stuff that also happen and play. And then
peptides
those...
and proteins and...
Yeah, so but you're saying scientifically, even if it's is it subconscious thought that you might be invoking, and then the emotion because of the chemical, like a
Cocktail,
serotonin.
yes.
If there's an abundance of serotonin, I'm pretty pumped.
Yes, you
But
get a
with
dopamine dump and
there's
you love it,
all
right?
that stuff.
Yeah. So,
how's that linked?
absolutely. That's on a more scientific level, in fact. It's just the chemical, or the cocktail of chemicals, that you are then releasing into your body. And it is producing then that emotional reaction or response.
I've heard human talk about it quite often, is that the dopamine cycle doesn't just begin at the reward. It's the build up to the, and your body's already, so it makes sense that if you thinking about, this thing's coming up, your body's already releasing the hormones. Correct. And you're already, the chemicals are already running. So it leads up to what you're saying, is like your body subconsciously starts thinking about that.
Sure.
So okay.
Yes, and so therefore, if you can think greater than you're feeling, so if you don't like how you're feeling in any situation, okay, because that's what we go by, right? That feel. We feel it in our stomach or we feel it in our chest, and you go like, I don't like this this feeling. And when you don't like that feeling, that's when you got to say, what is it that I was just thinking about? Because that's your answer. And then if you can then shift your thoughts into a more empowered place or a more positive state, what is it that you want in this moment, not what you don't want. Because that's what we know for sure, is that we think between 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, and that 80% of our thinking is negative.
Yeah. Now,
I know you said you're a pretty optimistic, determined, guy, and 100% we share that. But our mind has been designed to keep us safe, of course.
Yeah.
That's the number one job, right? It's not happiness. That's our job. It's survival. And so how does it make sure that we survive and that we are safe? Look out for any dangers. Be aware. So we live in this generally sort of fear-based state of all the things that could go wrong. So the mind will, out of all the endless, countless options and ways that, things could turn out, the mind will start imagining the worst possible one. Why? Because it knows if you should experience anything less than that, it knows you will survive.
Yeah.
And then its job is done. So when I feel that state coming in, or that emotion that I don't like, I've got to think greater than I'm feeling in that moment.
Okay.
So that I shift and move myself into a more empowered state.
I want to understand how you do that. But before, we've got this, I work with this that I learned, I borrowed from somebody along the way, is the 4 A's. And it starts with awareness. Then it's acceptance of and then after acceptance, then action, next A, and then adherence. Adherence is the feedback loop of to get it going like that. So adherence, and then you do, and even we do stand-ups, but this is taken from EO, and then somebody else that I learned something from, and it was, we start with the one word, and that's one word is a presencing exercise. So how are you feeling at this moment in time? So nothing's good or bad, thinking makes it so. But as soon as you say that one word, if it's overwhelmed, that helps me as a team lead understand where you are, and like not to give you more work or to sort out whatever's happening. But so that I want to understand is like, if I'm overwhelmed, so the thought process there, just to close that loop, overwhelmed, I accept that I'm overwhelmed, then I've got to figure out like what is the action, and then I need to continue with adherence. So those are the 4 A's. But now I'm feeling overwhelmed. How do I think great? How do you do that? Like, how do you think greater than you feel? Is there practical?
Sure. I feel like the answer there lies in asking yourself better questions, So instead of saying, why am I feeling so overwhelmed? We always tend to go to the why. It should be asking, what would be a better question, or what would be a better thought to hold in my mind right now, that would allow me to access a more positive, resourceful state. Or we could say things like, we want to say to ourselves like, this is a disaster, Then we can say, okay, what's not great yet?
Okay.
You know, I don't like using the word perfect, but, you know, you could say, what's not perfect about this yet? Because perfection for me is the enemy of progress, right? But, you know, when you start training your mind and when you start actually, and you mentioned it earlier, journaling, when you start actually writing down some really like new empowering beliefs, and that's part of the NLP process. So you would practice that as a skill set. You're able to recall them more easily in those moments.
Okay.
You see, so it does require work, like anything.
It's practice.
It requires practice,
It's
like anything,
practice,
because
yeah.
that's how we install new habits into the unconscious mind, is through repetition. Just like how we learned our times tables as a kid. You know?
Okay, I love that. So you ask different questions, and if you that's the statement you need to do is, what questions am I asking? What questions am I asking?
Literally, yes. So it's conscious awareness, right? For me, the best thing, or the best way to describe it really is just actually about conscious living. Because so often we tend to fall back into our unconscious programs, which I call kind of falling asleep. You know, we're walking around half asleep in terms of we just rinse and repeat, you know, what we're thinking about. I mean, when we wake up, we'll run through your routine.
Yeah.
Generally, if we're doing it unconsciously, we get up on the same side of the bed, we think the same thoughts, we therefore induce the same chemistry in the body and feelings, so we behave in the same ways, and then we get the same results and we wonder why nothing's changing.
Yeah, yeah.
And we can get quite upset with ourselves.
Okay.
But nobody teaches us how to access that deeper, what lies beneath that unconscious mind, which makes up 97% of our powerful mind. We are only consciously using 3%. Now, that conscious mind it's our analytical, logical, rational thinking part of the brain. It's what we use to make choices and decisions every single day. You know, that you chose to wear this today, the design that you chose for your office. We did all of these things consciously. So, of course, we think we're in control, But it's about what's going on beneath all of that. The unconscious mind is where all of our emotions and all of our memories are stored. And the unconscious mind is where we've got all of these programs that are running on autopilot, John. And they are literally determining our experience. So if we do not like our experience, all we need to know is how to access that unconscious mind, do that deeper dive and do the work, which is very empowering. It's very uplifting. It's very cathartic as well. You know, you mentioned it. I also do timeline with my clients. And it's a beautifully empowering NLP principle and technique, should I say. And it's for processing, for release, just like we spoke about. But nobody teaches us this stuff in school. And if only they did, if only they did. So one person at a time, that's my job, I'm changing the world one person at a time. And that's why I get so excited when I get an opportunity to talk to more.
Okay, amazing. So I think, we could get stuck in and we could spend a lot of time on this. But let's go back to where we were.
Right.
On the timeline. So
where were we?
Post-accident. Well, we talked about the coldness in hospital.
Yes.
So now you've survived and you've reconstructed. You've said that titanium, more pins than anyone ever at the time. And what happens next in your life?
So then in an effort so I start the healing process. And I didn't start NLP immediately after my accident. I only discovered that later. Well, I say discovered, I drew it in later because I do believe that we are magnets, right? And we attract. When I finally realized that I could stop chasing. And that's a whole nother story again for another time. But we could talk for hours, John. All right. So what happened next was
Sorry, before you get to that, I'm just interrupting. But I have to say it now because it's in the flow of it, where you were talking about our subconscious. What we've realized in the way we've set this podcast up is that this Lifeline is a biography. My favorite books were biographies.
Yes.
And now people come and they tell me their biography. So it's your origin story that we're going through right now. But I didn't plan it like that. I love a good quote. So you bring a quote, and we talk marketing. We'll get to the marketing campaign. So these are the 3 things we base this around. That was like drawn out, like consciously, like you said, planned. And then only later on have I realized, gee, my favorite books are biographies. People are so fascinating, so interesting. I could listen to you all day.
Yes.
And then I happen to love quotes and that sort of stuff. But yeah, so that was the subconscious. Just to finish that bit with the bit of how powerful that is, and how you only get it. That's where I got it from. You only realize it in retrospect.
Yes.
And that you are drawing it in. I think that's where you were.
That's right. Yeah. And so then, after I'd allowed, the 2 years with all the surgeries, the major reconstructive surgeries, and then I felt I needed to prove to myself that inner beauty was a real thing. That inner beauty was, in fact, even more important than, your outer external physical features. And so I then challenged myself to do some growing. And that was when I actually entered my next competition, beauty pageant. And that was the Miss KwaZulu-Natal. And I gave it my all, went for it, and I won. And that was like a turning point for me. That kind of reconnected me to go, right, it wasn't all just about your looks. It wasn't all just your external, beauty. There's something inside of you that is far superior to any of that. And that's then that automatically qualified me for Miss South Africa. And here is a beautiful example of how my mind defeated me in the Miss South Africa. I allowed it to, right? Because I didn't yet know my NLP skills. Okay, I didn't know what I didn't know. And I somehow worked myself up. I got into semi-finals. I worked myself up into, what if I don't know the answers to the questions that they are going to ask me? And what if it's very political or very, history-based? And academically, I did well, but I started doubting myself. And self-doubt. Wow. So what do you think happened? When they asked me my question, I froze. I literally froze in fear, like a deer in the headlights. And I couldn't for the life of me find my words. I was telling myself, I don't know. And so that was my experience.
Do you remember what the question was?
I actually do not.
Okay.
So you blocked that out.
Literally, I think I was in such a fearful state at that moment.
Interesting, eh?
So interesting. I mean, it was incredible. It's incredible for me now to look back and go, when I say I've been in the trenches and I relate to every single client that comes to me that I, coach through, there's always something that I have absolutely experienced myself, usually more than one thing, and so I've lived it and been there with, I'm in it with them. And that was a really big learning curve for me.
And picking up like a massive empathy, what would it be, gene or composite, like you definitely have that. That's why I was able to, for the listeners, I was tearing up earlier, and that was the energy being passed. I feel like you really connect with people in that way.
Thank you, John.
Yeah. Well, it's a compliment, I guess, but it is.
Yeah, I love that.
And that's, there might be an NLP explanation that we go through, but the way I understand that fear, because when I have had that before, I don't remember it because it's the blood in my brain, it's gone to a different cortex or part of the brain, and it literally just
protect at all costs. Get back into the comfort zone. You've gone far too, you've stepped out too far.
And that's
right?
when I remember it.
Yeah, and that's how I remember it. It was like, get back to safety, retreat, like cavemen and cave women back in the day into their caves, because that's their safety. But as I always say, how many trees flourish inside of caves? Zero, right? Because there's no growth that happens inside of our comfort zone. And that's why it is necessary to feel the fear, but to act in the face of fear anyway, right? To push past it. So if I had known, to feel what I was feeling, but to think greater than I felt, than I felt in that moment, that would have served me well. Or if I had known how to, get into my anchored state, and a lot of things would have served me well, but it's okay. Because I am where I am now with purpose.
Yeah.
And I needed those lessons to get me to where I am today, right?
Yeah.
So that I can teach others, and make an impact and equip other people, and especially our youth. I get so excited about our youth because the younger that we can start, before they instill all of these unhealthy beliefs and, limiting beliefs and poor self-esteem. And, oh, man, if we can get in there, it's half the battle won. The earlier, the better.
Yeah. We say this quite often in the show, but it's a quote that I've come across was, the universe gives you what you need to evolve to the next level.
Yes.
So whatever it gave you was exactly right. That's exactly why you're here. And that's,
It doesn't always give you what you want. It gives you what you need.
Exactly.
It's so true. And even I see it, John, with my little, my beautiful son, Lockley, he's just turned 5. But instead of saying just little things, instead of saying to him, I'm so proud of you, because of course I am. But I'll follow it up always with, you must be so proud of yourself, or you ask him that question. It's more important. I'm trying to teach him from a young age, what you think and feel is what matters the most, not about anybody else, right? So
yeah, that's an interesting technique. So like that, because I've been trying to figure that out, and I've heard that how important that is.
Yes.
That it's not about, because that creates people pleasing when it's like, well done and congrats and all that
External
sort of stuff.
Validation.
So, but I've been trying to work. I think you've just now really helped me out there. That I'll go immediately. I'll see them. I was like, that's awesome. How did it make you feel? And I want to invoke that, but there seems like you are more than allowing them to just figure that out, directing them.
Correct.
So you should be proud of yourself, and then is that the right way to do it?
Correct. I think also, I'm not sure what age your kids are, but I suppose because I'm dealing with quite a youngster who might not be able to sort of, really understand and process his emotions, I'm kind of just giving it in there and getting it in there straight to the core. Yes.
8 and 3.
So quite right. Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That's very helpful for the parents out there. I think, it is for the other parents, because I was going and he was kind of stumped, and I was like, why didn't you tell me? But it's because
you must be so proud of yourself.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
And then he can.
And then they kind of step in, and even if they weren't thinking that, they kind of go, well, actually, wait a minute. Yeah, I am quite proud of myself, you know?
There you go. I love it.
So, you're instilling empowering beliefs. Oh, here we go. Sorry. This is one of my anchor states, 11:11. Every day, my alarm goes off on my watch at 11:11, and that's one of my little synchronicities.
Okay, let's get to that. But because we mentioned the flight earlier, I'm going to drop this little bit in. I don't know if you guys know about that flight. The one survivor was sitting in 11A.
I did not know that.
And previously that's been the case that 11A, and it's a bio-emergency exit, but that seat survives. And 11 is 1-1, A is the first, so it's 111. So why? And I found that little interesting, and we can go down different little tinfoil hat things on that. But back to you, why 11:11? So
that is just for me, it is my soulful reminder. This is my message from God and the universe that I'm exactly where I'm meant to be with purpose and intention, and to not give up and to keep on going. And that vision that I have, it's already in play. My intention is to, reach as many people as possible, to empower them, to equip them, to help them release their real and full potential. It lights me up. You have no idea how excited I get about it when I sit, and I've been doing so much work at the moment. I am creating a digital product that I say so that I can obviously scale impact. But I suppose this answers the question of what are my up and coming things that we're going to get to. So let me push forward. yours.
On that 11, do you know why that 111? I Googled it because I was like, why? People always talk about the 111 or the 111. Do you know why that is? Apparently it's the angel number.
Right. Sorry. Yeah. Yes. Angel number. Right. So
yes. They survived and you think, and basically you are being a guiding angel if I look at it in that way.
I love that.
But yeah, so let's get there. Let's go.
Okay. So, right. So eventually, yes, I got the feedback, right? Because then there's no such thing as failure, only feedback. That's another one we can teach our kids from a young age. Feedback may be negative or positive, but it's feedback nonetheless on how to do something different next time to achieve your desired outcome. So I got the feedback and I then in that moment decided, right, it is time to literally trade perfection, just trade that perfection for purpose. And I just started getting this calling, this deeper calling. I then proceeded to, go into sales. I did really well in sales. I did exceptionally well. I was always top of my game in sales until I wasn't, because I was just not feeling it anymore, right? I reached a stage where I was self-sabotaging all my relationships. Of course, not consciously. None of us do that consciously, There was deeper reasons that I've since, been able to process and work on, which is fantastic for me and for my amazing husband today, Steve. Because there was a period in my life where I felt like, all my friends are married. They're actually already having their second or third kids. And what am I doing? Like, I'm nowhere, And that's, what do we do? Compare and measure ourselves. And where am I in career? Nowhere. Where am I, and you start feeling like a little bit of a loser, which is a horrible way to say. But, that was my truth then. I would feel that, but nobody knew that because I was such a great master of disguise. Go out, like I said, I used all my people-pleasing techniques and so I hit it well until I just couldn't anymore. And I do firmly believe that, when you hit rock bottom, it is such an exciting place to be, even though it doesn't feel like it when you're in it. But when you are at your lowest low, there is only one way to go, and that is up from there. And it's an exciting time. And that was where my real journey just took a massive turn. I started actually searching. I was participating in my own rescue. I'd find myself on my knees sometimes with my hands in the air going like, God, why? Like, where's my husband? Where's where's this? Where's that? And so I started then going, right, stop playing the victim. Do something about it. What can you do? And luckily with, internet at the time, I was able then to go, right, what can I do? And I started searching for these. Besides just reading scriptures, I started, the algorithm, how it goes. When you type in certain things, it's going to send you more and more of that. And then I came upon neuroplasticity and I was like, what is this exactly? You mean I can rewire my brain? What, for success? How? And I started digging and, and did a deeper dive. And it's one of the most beautiful, again, synchronicities, or I don't know, listen to this. I'm at the end of I didn't know it was going to be the end of my sales job, at that time, but I wasn't feeling it. And, despite my efforts. And so I remember my boss at the time walking across to me and giving me a piece of paper and going, I'd like you to go see this client, and off he went. And I was like, okay, cool, look at the paper, and lo and behold, NLP Training Center. I didn't even know we had NLP in South Africa. I thought it was an overseas thing. You know how we always behind the times, right?
Yeah.
And I just remember getting goosebumps from head to toe. And suddenly I was lit from within. And I was like, I will definitely go see this client. I'd never been so happy to go see a client. And off I went and had the business meeting. But of course, I was like, may I please book some time with you for a personal meeting? And that I did. And that was the beginning for me. I then did my certification. I also, during that time where I felt like I was now living a more purpose-driven life, I met Steve. And I was just like, what? This stuff really works, When you start changing your state, And that leads to my quote that is one of my favorite, but we'll get there. But wow, when you actually start changing your state from within, you start changing your inner world, it starts reflecting in your outer reality. And I suddenly found my rock. I mean, Steve, as in my rock, he just loves unconditionally and is there to support and cheer on, and so grateful. And then that, of course, led to my Lockley, which is just my everything, my greatest achievement in life.
Yeah.
And yes, so it just all just started happening. And I did my certification and I was practicing. I was cutting my teeth with my amazing mentor, and then it came this time where it was time for me to go out on my own. And I remember thinking, but can I? And then I thought, wait a minute, here's a wonderful opportunity to use all your NLP techniques and tools. And I did. And I remember, it was a harder conversation because I almost felt like, you think, how's it going to be received that I'm wanting to leave and now go out on my own? And I'll never forget, she just looked at me with so much love in her heart. And she said, Bergs, your wings are ready. It is time to fly. I'll never forget that. And I was just like, thank you. And I just feel like I have been exercising these wings and flapping them as often as possible, as hard as possible, and I will never stop, Yeah. Because it's too fulfilling. It is the most rewarding job I've ever done in my entire life.
Okay, amazing. And do you go back and check in with that?
Yes,
Okay.
I do. I do, absolutely. Every coach needs a coach. And it's important for us to also just clean out and, as well. Because as you mentioned earlier, energy is everything. And I know how to hold the space for my clients and not actually, get sucked in with them, because I'm of no use and no good if I'm sitting stuck in the sadness with you or stuck in the whatever it is.
I'm interested to figure that out because I've had a few guests that, that, like I said, I get drawn in.
Yes.
I start to mimic and as well as share the energy and take them. So I'll take on anxiety or I'll take on the sadness as well. And that's quite an easy one for me to get to.
Sure.
That just quickly back to along all this time and after the hospital, did you ever have therapy in any way?
Yes, I did.
Was that helpful?
Yes, John, it was helpful. I always make a little bit of a joke at myself and I say, I've pretty much been to every psychologist, psychiatrist, in Durban, you name it, I did it all. I went to Riverview Manor, which is a rehabilitation center, because how it happened was that a whole family was together. It had been my cousin's 21st birthday, and my mom and my aunts, made an effort to help me look and feel beautiful. And I went, and there were a lot of photographs taken. But then we got together to review the photographs, and it was the first time I was seeing my new face in a photograph, and that hit me hard. I just was like, it felt like the first time I looked in the mirror when I just was like, what am I looking at? Just crazy. And so that was when I did start actually, start feeling the negative emotions and kind of getting stuck in them. And so, yes, I went to go see psychiatrists and psychologists, and I'll just truthfully say that whilst it definitely did help and it gave me some positive change, I always found that it wasn't lasting positive change, because I would ultimately, and it might be different for others, but for me, my experience is that I would ultimately just kind of keep falling back into my patterns. We've all got patterns of focus, and when you have a significant emotional event happen in your life, I know that where your focus goes, your energy flows. And it's easy to get stuck there. And so I would keep kind of falling back into my own unconscious programs and then needing to go back again and then, and get some reprieve and then back and some reprieve and back. And NLP, the neuro-linguistic programming, was the only thing that literally gave me the tools, taught me the techniques. And it's like having this invisible tool belt that I know when whatever happens, I know what to reach for, and I can get myself up and out of that state. Because as I always say, you know, we are human beings. We're allowed to feel. We're meant to feel.
Yeah.
You're a little tin man with a little tin heart. And your emotions, that's why it's called your emotional guidance system. They're there to guide you.
Yeah.
But we do not have to stay stuck in them. And the time at which it takes you to get out of that, you know, you're just getting better and better at that. And so you're narrowing the gap, bridging the gap, narrowing the gap. And so a lot of people will say to me, Jeepers Bergs, you know, do you ever have a bad mood? Or you ever, in a bad mood? Or do you ever have a down day? And I say, like, of course, I'm human. I have the emotions, but I know how to get myself out of them so much more quickly. Where I used to spend hours, days, weeks, months. Now it's moments. I have a moment.
Okay.
And then I go, okay, you know, what do I need to learn from that I can use as a valuable resource for the future? It's either a learning or lesson about myself or others. And whatever it is that I can hold on to that's positive, I hold on to that positive learning to let go of the negative emotion. Okay. And that sets you free.
That's what I also got out of that now too, is I've realized like going to the doctor doesn't get you better. Like you can't just carry on going to the doctor. You have to do,
treating the symptoms.
Or just visiting the doctor.
Oh, yes.
And speaking, they don't heal you, it's the medicine that heals you. And that medicine might be in a form of NLP was your medicine, as I understand it.
That's right, because it got to the root cause.
Yeah, so it got to root cause.
That's right.
We're going to,
Yes,
is there more in the lifeline before we're going to jump to? We want to jump to your case study. I don't want to miss that.
I think we're good.
So we're good, and we're going to go back to the future and that sort of stuff.
Great.
Back to the future.
That was a great movie.
Yeah, it's actually a question I ask in interviews because it's like did you have a black bike when you grew up? Those little plastic bikes.
Yes.
And have you watched Back to the Future? Then we can connect. Otherwise, we need to have a viewing party. But I love this case study that you proposed.
Thank you.
Find your greatness. So we're going to play it now, and we'll play a few clips of it. I've got a video that has a stack of it. We'll have the link to this in the show notes, guys. We're going to have it. There's a bunch of ads that come into this. So let's play it now.
Greatness, it's just something we made up. Somehow we've come to believe that greatness is a gift reserved for a chosen few, for prodigies, for superstars, and the rest of us can only stand by watching. You can forget that. Greatness is not some rare DNA strand. It's not some precious thing. Greatness is no more unique to us than breathing. We're all capable of it. All of us.
As I said, we'll have the link to this in the show notes, and you can go watch all of the ads in the campaign that Narc did. The campaign Find Your Greatness. So what made you choose this?
Well, it's linked to one of my favorite statements. Can I mention it now?
Yeah, do it. Perfect.
That there are no unresourceful people. There are only unresourceful states of mind, and that can be changed. Because we are all in a state, an emotional state. It's either a empowering, resourceful state or the opposite of that, okay? It's not, what we were born with. Greatness is not something that you are born with. It's something that is built. And so why this is so valuable and pertinent to me and my journey is because it's about connecting into your true self. And it all comes down to belief, building that belief that I can. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are right every single time. So it's linked to this powerful mind of ours. And I love that they chose this advert, and it's so relatable It's just relatable. Anybody can choose to do anything. And if they should set their mind to it and put their focus on that and all their energy and attention, wow, they will find their greatness. Mountains they can move. If it all starts with belief. When you believe in yourself, you recognize your potential, you tap into it. Therefore, you take that greater action. And when you take that, you get those results. You get the results you want. And it doesn't end there. That last loop is the most important one, where it feeds back into our belief system of, wow, I can do this. What? I can improve, And so it's just this onwards. That's how we flip that downward spiral that we often can fall into. We flip it on its head. Flip the script and just start going, and you start tapping more and more into your greatness because everybody has it. You know, everybody was born with some unique, amazing, special greatness. It's just whether we allow ourselves to recognize that or not.
Yeah. No, I love this campaign. And from a marketing side, how we would look at it in our 6 principles, you've just nailed it with flip the script, which would tie into the principle. We have an AQ quotient, so RQ, EQ, and AQ. Right. AQ being the adaptive, the ability to change quotient, but it's the crazy beats strong or think differently principle. So Nike ads will have aspirational people, a huge slam dunk, and whereas that's a starting point. What I loved about that was that, like you said, it flipped the script, but also that you also heard you say it's accessible. So it's like
relatable, yes.
And relatable, and people can, okay, cool, I could just start now.
Yeah.
And then that could be you looking back. There could be somewhere where you look back in the and look, and that's where I started.
In the journey, absolutely.
It's fine, and that's totally fine. I think it's amazing.
And it's linked to even just, start messy, because often, as I say, perfection, right? We're striving for perfection. Just put that aside, set it aside, and just, even if you just start messy, launch, adjust, redo, or, you just got to start somewhere, because you can't improve upon something that is not there. So just start,
Yeah.
And that comes with that belief, that self-belief that I can. That I get to, And
that's, that, and as a marketing principle, we have always on optimization. So in digital specifically, and tied in with what you're saying, the perfect is the enemy of good. You need to get something out there and then measure, basically. So then you do another stake in the ground. Okay, cool. And then learn. Like you said, you constantly learning, you're never failing. It's just learning.
Feedback, absolutely.
It's just feedback.
Getting feedback on how to grow.
Yeah.
And so, yes, pain was my teacher, but mindset has become my superpower.
Amazing. I love it.
And if we, and I know we're going to get to it, that's what I've kind of incorporated into this digital product that I'm so excited about, is literally, it's relatable because it's for anyone. Actually, it's not for anyone. It is only for people who have an absolute willingness to create the positive change that they want in their lives. It is for people who have an open mind, and it is for people that believe that there is something inside of them that is far superior to any circumstance or challenge or past experience that they have faced or may be facing, whatever they're facing right now. It's for those people.
Okay, well, tell us about it.
And I've literally called this campaign Lit, because it lights me up when I think about it. But I've also attached the acronym of Live in Truth. Live in your truth, right? It's about loving yourself. It is about learning from the past. And this is what it is for me, because we've all got a story, right? Usually you've done pretty well if you haven't been through some, challenge or some hardship. But this is it's going to be a blueprint literally on how to take whatever your past pain has been, all right? Take it, learn from that past to illuminate your inner world and then to transform your outer reality. So in that, I give very comprehensive steps. You will probably be assisting me in the recording because I'll make a recording versions as well, videos as well. And I want people to be able to, in the comfort of their own homes, anywhere in the globe, if they're just ready to go and to launch and to take off, start messy, but do it anyway, then they will watch this, they will tap in, they will tune in, and it'll connect them to something that they didn't realize. Or maybe they had an inkling, but this will get them to tap straight into the heart and the core and the soul of who they are and what they are capable of, backed with the support of all the techniques that will be helpful and valuable in empowering them to really learn how to change their energy. It is all about energy. Yeah, it's your energy. So to know how to light that up from within, so that, because we are all like essentially like little radio stations, right? We are emitting a vibrational frequency all the time. And it's either, we're giving off a low vibrational frequency or the opposite of that. And so the aim and the goal is obviously to do the work on ourselves first. That's why all the cheesy expressions, be the change you wish to see in the world, because it starts with you.
Yeah.
So when you know how to do that, how to get into better state, how to light up from the inside, then of course your frequency you are emitting will attract more of its like energy. Okay. And when we do that, you suddenly start attracting, like I said, the right people, the right opportunities, the right experiences. And you think, what? How is this happening? But you're doing it because you've taken that ownership, you've taken that accountability, and you've decided that you want more and you deserve more. But a lot of people have a lot of limitations that hold them back because of their own unconscious programs and beliefs that we didn't obviously set out intentionally to hold on to, but because we've thought them so many times, that's what a belief is, a thought you've had over and over again. And if there's some part of you that feels like you don't deserve, or I don't get to, or that will, as hard as you may try with your conscious 3%, that 97%, it's going to keep you stuck. Not because it wants to be mean to you, but because the brain, the mind will always choose what is familiar. So even if it's staying in the comfort zone as being your familiarity, that's the familiar feeling, but then no growth happens, it's going to hold you there. So when we get to do this empowering work, and I show you exactly how to do it and give you all the techniques to practice and put into practice every single day, till you start feeling that shift from within and you start seeing it in your outer world. When you start doing that, what we're literally doing, did you see that? We are laying down those new neurological pathways in your brain. We're laying down new ones towards what you want, not what you don't want. We start there with what you don't want, but we learn how to powerfully flip that over, to focus on what we want, to state it in the positive. And then all of our energy and every single step and layer is about strengthening that pathway so that it becomes the dominant one. Because your unconscious mind will always choose the path of least resistance. So if that's the dominant way, also a fun fact is that the old pathway that led you towards the negative emotional states, when that no longer gets attention or focus, it's like a plant that no longer gets watered. It will actually retract, retreat, and die. And so the next time the trigger happens, it might want to run that, but if it's not there, it cannot run. And now it runs towards what we have absolutely strengthened and has become the dominant way.
Would you say it's an algorithm?
Yes.
Yeah. So you mentioned programs, and now you're shaping your new algorithm. Basically,
Yes,
you're choosing again what you want to see in your feed.
Yes.
And I hope everyone knows this that's watching and listening. Like, if you want to see more plane crashes, go click on plane crashes and search plane crashes. I don't do that, but that's the
seek
thing.
and you will find.
Yeah. So
correct.
and I do often use that cliche, be the change you want to see in the world, because I do
Okay.
believe in that. Like,
Yes.
if you want the world to be more kind, be more kind. Like, start with you.
Yeah, that's
I love that.
right.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
really do love it.
It's your reticular activating system. That's what we basically are resetting. And, that's, if you know what that is, the RAS in the brain. And it's basically, its job is to find from the outside world and bring to you that which matches your inside world.
Okay.
So it's exactly what you said.
Yeah.
What you focus on
equilibrium.
will increase. If you're going to focus on all the negatives and what's missing and what's gone wrong and what you don't have, you're going to get more of that.
Yeah.
Same like when I was pregnant, suddenly, or like when you're pregnant, you suddenly notice, I used to go to a coffee spot. I've been going there forever, years. Never once did I notice that there was a pediatrician right there, random example. But suddenly when I was pregnant, your RAS it's like open to, everything to do with children. Maybe for a guy, it'll be easier to relate to when you buy that car. And minute you drive it off the showroom floor, you suddenly look around and you notice that everybody's driving this car.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, that's always been the case. It's just that your reticular activating system is now aware. You've switched it on and that's been your focus. So seek and you will find.
Okay. And then just to transition to your second quote.
Yes.
Do you know that one or should I read it? Because it's thinking, worrying. Do you want to...
No, I love that. Instead of... Do you want to say something or not?
No.
Oh, so instead of worrying about all the things that you can't change, shift your focus to what you can create instead. And that has been such a key mission statement almost for me. I love it because we have the power to create, as I've already discussed. We are co-creators of our reality. And we're actually creating our reality all the time. It's just become a deliberate creator of your reality. That's the difference, right? So, yes, I think also when we're trying to force and control, other people or an outcome or a situation, and you're putting all this energy in it, what it's doing to your inner world, it's frustrating you. It's upsetting you. It's throwing your body off of balance, out of homeostasis. And so when you actually choose to just let go of that and actually go with your flow. The saying, hey, just go with the flow. It's not the flow. Go with your flow. Just go with your natural flow because you will actually be led into your greatness. You'll feel it. When you're going with your flow, you've got access to all the positive emotions that life has to offer. Excitement, joy, contentment, peace, fulfillment, happiness, whatever it is. But when something happens and it pulls us outside of our flow, that creates resistance. And if we spend too much time focusing on that and trying to force it or change it or whatever it is, what are you doing to your inner world? So it's always about, again, coming back to just ownership, accountability. What do I want? Not what I don't want, right? Yeah.
I love it. Who I didn't see this answer in your reply. Who are your incredible machines?
Wow. Actually, I have many incredible machines. I'm sure we all do. But I think it goes without saying that it is my parents. Because my dad and my stepdad and my mom, they've all just been such a beautiful, positive force in my life always. And they still are today. And we all get along famously. Isn't that beautiful? So I'm very grateful to my parents for always maintaining those good relationships. My husband, Steve, he's got a powerful mind. He runs the Comrades every year.
Oh, wow.
Yep. And so that's mindset, right? And just showing me that I can have a different experience of, the relationship that I'm seeking. Not that it was ever anybody else's fault. It all actually started with me. I did the change work. And I was just blessed to find this good soul to do life with. And then my son, of course, is a daily teacher. He's a daily incredible machine because I just see the wonder that he's in this creation phase. And that's where we're supposed to be, right? Creating. That's when we the sword becomes, the stick becomes the sword and the broom, becomes the horse. And, you're riding and you're creating. And we need to stay in creation phase. But if we allow ourselves to slip out of that, get us stuck in the system, what happens when we go to school, right? Hey, stop daydreaming, get in line, conform, right?
Yeah.
It can kind of dampen that.
Yeah.
Can crush your spirit. So I love it. He's a powerful reminder for me. He's an incredible machine and he's just constantly creating, and I love the energy that he brings, and it keeps me young too. And I'm just so passionate about him and my family, and yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, the kids are incredible mirrors too. They just as I love the creation, but just they say the darndest things, or they just
absolutely.
Like they'll tell you how they see it, and no holds barred. Like they go for it, and then
the innocence. Innocence.
Is there anything that I haven't asked you that I should have?
Well, I just wanted to say, just beyond the family, I do have one other incredible machine, and that is Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Amazing.
I love his work. And if anybody does not know who Dr. Joe Dispenza is, well, I encourage you to go look because it's beautiful. It's all energy based and it's very much NLP. You know, it's all linked. The Tony Robbins of the world, the Louise Hayes. There's so many that are actually adopting and using the NLP principles of life. So I just wanted to drop that in there.
Yeah, I was just in Hawaii and we did a walking meditation on the beach listening to
beautiful.
Joe Dispenza. Yeah, Dr. Joe Dispenza was the guide there. So it was he is incredible.
He is incredible. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and is there, so that question again, was there anything that I should have asked you that I haven't?
Thanks, John. I would just wanted to close with this powerful reminder, and it's something that I literally say to myself every single day, is that you are the creator of your reality. Your energy determines your destiny. You are whole and complete now, and that you are connected to the infinite possibilities of the universe. In other words, what are you waiting for? There's nothing stopping you but perhaps yourself, and maybe it's time to just move out your own way and go for it.
Love it. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, John, for having me. Thanks for this lovely opportunity.
Yeah, cool.
Absolutely.
The incredible Burgette Yarlett.